We finished it in 1990. I want to be exact about that because everything else in this story depends on it. Not a prototype, not a concept, a finished rifle, tested, documented, with an armourer's manual and a factory brochure and a delivery schedule. 22 years of work. It fired 3 rounds before the barrel had finished moving. It had no brass to eject, no ejection port, nothing to catch, nothing to leave behind on the ground. The German army had watched it work, and then nobody bought it. Not because it failed, because by the time we were finished, the thing it had been built for was gone. Here are the 2 calendars, ours and everyone else's. The question came out of NATO in the late 60s, and it was not the question you would expect. It was not, how do we make a rifle more powerful? It was, why do soldiers miss? The studies were uncomfortable reading. In combat, the average infantryman hit very little of what he aimed at, not through cowardice and not through bad training. Stress, movement, breath, the half-second between deciding and firing. Everybody who looked at the problem arrived at roughly the same answer. Put more than 1 round into the same place before the shooter's body has time to disturb the aim. Fire a burst so fast that the rifle has not yet begun to move. That is easy to say. To do it, you need the rifle to cycle at something like 2,000 rounds a minute for 3 rounds, then stop. And you need the recoil of all 3 to arrive after the last one has left the barrel as a single push rather than 3, which meant the brass had to go. A cartridge case is a marvelous object. It seals the breech, it carries the heat out of the weapon when it is thrown clear, it protects the powder. It is also most of the weight a soldier carries, and every one of them has to be extracted, lifted and thrown out of the gun before the next round can go in. That extraction is the slowest thing in a rifle. Take the case away and the whole mechanism can be rebuilt around a different motion. That was the bet. It took 22 years. The first prototypes fired in 1974. The ammunition was not ours. Dynamit Nobel made it, and it was the harder half of the problem, a block of solid propellant with the projectile buried inside it and a primer at the back. Rectangular, so it stacks without wasted air. 4.73 millimeters of bullet in 33 millimeters of block. The difficulty is heat. In an ordinary rifle, the hot case leaves the gun and takes its heat with it. Ours stayed. Fire enough rounds and the chamber becomes hot enough to set off the next block before the trigger is touched. A cook-off with a live round and an unlocked action. Dynamit Nobel's answer was a propellant that refuses to ignite until it is much hotter than the chamber ever gets. High ignition temperature propellant. Years of chemistry to solve a problem created entirely by removing a piece of brass. On our side, the breech. Not a bolt sliding back and forth, but a cylinder that rotates. The magazine lies flat along the top of the rifle, above the barrel and pointing the same way, and rounds drop down into the cylinder at 90 degrees to the bore. The cylinder turns a quarter turn to line the round up with the barrel and fires it. The cocking handle is on the left of the stock and you wind it, a full turn, like a clock. 45 or 50 rounds lying flat in a box on top of a rifle, and beneath the barrel, a spring, so that the whole barrel and breech assembly could recoil inside the outer shell after the burst was already gone. On the 21st of December, 1976, a patent was granted in the United States, number 3,997,994. Shoulder arm with swivel breech member. 4 names are on it: Gunter Kastner, Dieter Ketterer, Tilo Moller, Ernst Wossner. That is the entire public record of who we were. 4 names in a legal document in a foreign language describing a rotating breech in the flat prose that patents are written in. No photographs, no interviews. If you want to know who built this rifle, that is the document you read, and it will tell you nothing about any of us except that on that date we had solved this particular problem. A second patent followed in March 1978. I mention them because it is the only honest way to introduce us. The rifle became famous. It appears in films and games and magazine covers, usually described as the gun that was too advanced for its own good. The men who drew it did not become famous, and the drawings are the only thing any of us signed. Between that patent and the finished weapon there were dozens of versions. The ammunition changed, the optic changed, the stock changed. 22 years is long enough that men joined the project, worked their whole careers on it, and retired off it before it was done. By 1989, we had a brochure, 75 centimeters long, 3.8 kilograms empty, a 54 centimeter barrel, sustained fire around 460 rounds a minute, 3-round burst at about 2,000. Those are the numbers we printed, and they were true. The German army had tested it in the late 80s, and adoption was planned for the early 90s. A second version went to the United States, into the Army's advanced combat rifle trials against Steyr and Colt and AAI. That was our year. Everything in the engineering calendar had come due at once, and all of it had come due correctly. On the 9th of November 1989, the Berlin Wall opened. I do not remember what I was doing. I remember that for weeks afterwards it did not occur to anyone I worked with that it had anything to do with us. It was the largest thing that had happened in our lifetimes, and it was happening a few hundred kilometers away, and it was, we assumed, a separate subject. The two calendars had been running side by side for 22 years without touching. That was the month they touched. Reunification cost more than anyone had said it would. The money went east, into roads, currency conversion, pensions, an entire second country's worth of everything, and a rifle that used ammunition no other NATO army could supply, from a factory that would have to be built, at a price per rifle nobody had ever paid, stopped being a bold procurement and started being the easiest line in the budget to strike out. The American trials ended without choosing anything at all. In 1991, the Soviet Union dissolved. The project was abandoned. I have read, since, that it would never have worked anyway, that it was too complicated, too expensive, too strange in the hand. Some of that is fair. It was complicated. You cannot look inside one and argue otherwise. But I want to be precise about what happened, because it failed is the wrong phrase, and it is the phrase everyone uses. It was finished. It was tested. It did what it was built to do. What ended it was that in 1968 we had been asked to help win a land war in Central Europe against an army that, by 1991, no longer existed. We answered the question correctly. Nobody was asking it anymore. There are perhaps a few hundred of them left, in museums and locked reference collections. The ammunition is inert or gone. If you find one in a case, the thing to look at is not the shape. Everyone looks at the shape. Look at the magazine lying flat along the top, and understand that it is there because 4 men decided that the slowest part of a rifle was the brass, and spent their working lives being right about it.